I greet everybody here this morning. Thank you to the board and to the panel for this opportunity. I need some help here.
Move closer to the mic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is much better. Is that okay? All right. Good morning again. My name is Lydia Petersen, and I'm the spokesperson for the Koeberg Alert Alliance. Can somebody just move my slides, please? Or should I? Which one? Oh, sorry. Nobody gave me instructions for this, but in any case, here we go. So we are gathered here today to comment on the long-term operations of Koeberg Power Station. I do apologize for my voice. I will see how long it will hold up. So the reason why we are here is to comment on the long-term, as I have said. And the key is to a meaningful public engagement is to inform the public. So we have not had an informed public at all. The information that came to the public was in drips and drabs, but we are standing here today still making comments about the long-term operation. And we still have incomplete information. In March 2023, there was a comment period that the only information that was available to us was the redacted safety case, which were blacked out in hundreds of places. And civil society at that time rejected that comment period and called it for it to be scrapped because we felt that it was unlawful and, in my view, unconstitutional because we did not have the right to speak about the issues at Koeberg at the time because, like I said, the information was not made public. And Eskom had no intention of releasing that safety case at all. It was only because the NNR exercised its power that Eskom was forced to release it. And we are grateful for the NNR and the board to force Eskom to release it. And we are grateful for that. We further feel that the communities, like I said, has not been informed. So the communities behind me is what I have done in the communities. They have had no inclination about a nuclear power plant on their doorsteps. They had no idea that the plant has been earmarked to be extended for another 20 years. The information sessions that the NNR has held in certain areas, and I was there, had no public participation at all. It was the communities that I brought to these meetings so that they could be informed as to who the NNR really is, their mandate, and what they need to bring to the communities. That is what happened in the last few months. So we come to the redacted safety case. Eskom made blacked out sections that were obviously designed to deceive us. For example, page 186. It says it is safe to continue operations, followed by a blacked out bit. And the later releases showed what the blacked out bit was. It says, provided that there is the timely implementation of the safety improvements contained in the LTO, Integrated Implementation Plan. And this was trying to change the meaning, not to hide sensitive information, but what can be more sensitive to the public when the NNR must obviously maintain that protocol that they will keep the public safe in case of something that needs to be happening at Koeberg. And I have to say, shame on Eskom for trying to do that. We come to that the risk of an earthquake at Koeberg. Many have said it won't happen. They use the words very unlikely, but we had quite a few in the last couple of years. So like I said, it's a big risk, but Eskom has still not completed a study of the risks of an earthquake. I said also in 2020, Cape Town was struck by several earthquakes, as illustrated on the picture on the right. And on February 2024, there was a 3.1 magnitude earthquake right here. That's a couple of days ago. A few years ago, I think it was about 2 years, Mr. Ridwan Bakadin, he's the ex, like you all know, the ex-nuclear officer. And he said, although there is an appreciation of the potential risk, calculations indicate that such risk is minuscule, meaning very little. He mentioned calculations. I'm asking, and the communities are asking, based on what? The risk assessment is still not completed. And these, as my former colleague, civil society colleague has said, it is still outstanding. So the public is being asked to make comments on something that they're not aware of. So how can we stand here today and say, yes, we do agree, because Eskom has previously and other presentations at the hearings have indicated that the nuclear plant is a viable option for economics in the Western Cape and to continue for another 20 years. But how can we just link that up and say, all those reports are still outstanding? I've seen the reports which they have on their slide. How can we make a conscious decision to have this plant extended if we do not have all the information? There's too much secrecy and non-transparency being displayed here. Eskom being late with their reports, it's definitely not our problem. And I would say to the NNR, please do not rush the public, because Eskom cannot get his house in order. We expect you as the NNR to look after our interests of the communities, and I'm standing here, and not to bend over backwards to try and please Eskom. It's just unacceptable. It is really simple. The NNR should ensure that all information is in the public domain before you start any public comment period. So you're having another set of public hearings coming up because you as the NNR is still waiting on more information. That is what you said. You are waiting on more information to become public, to get to you, so in order to hold more hearings. So you also in the waiting room. And the public must then wait until that is disclosed before we get it. So where do we stand as the public where it's supposed to be about safety? And I feel that you have failed that. You have failed us. Instead, civil society has to pay lawyers to force documents to be released. And there are so much more information that is still being withheld. And in my view, my opinion, it is unacceptable that this trend will continue. So when it comes to safety issues, we know there are several layers which are designed to protect the public. It is, number one, the reactor vessel, the containment building, and the emergency plan, the emergency and evacuation plan. For the reactor vessel, we have read, or I have read, and there's the proof of it, that cracks have been found in similar reactors like Coburg in France. In one reactor alone, a 23 millimeter deep crack was found in a 27 millimeter thick metal. Again, you can measure how much space there is for that crack to maneuver. The French nuclear regulator became concerned and has been putting pressure on the plant operator, forcing checks of the entire fleet. Not only one, and there's quite a few in France. We hope that the NNR, I said our NNR, we hope that you have the same level of concern about cracks in the high pressure pipes at Coburg. As far as I can tell, and as far as I have read, Eskom has no plans to replace the reactor pressure vessel or all of the high pressure pipes. If there is a leak there, the next defense is the containment building to stop radioactive material leaking into the surrounding communities. I'm happy to know there's a containment building. But that has become our biggest worry. And once again, Eskom tried to hide a report on the crack in the containment building, but again were finally forced to release it under threat of legal action. And Eskom's own report from 2022 said they found a 110-meter long crack all the way around the top of the dome of Unit 1. And the same report says that. You can read it. I will leave it on there for a while. And that is our huge and our deepest worry. And that is the crack report that was made available. So if I am the public, if I'm a concerned member of the public, then I would want to know what is behind those redactions. I want to know if my life, my family, everybody that is near and dear to me, that is loved, is safe. But I cannot deduce that from that because that is highly redacted. So there is no inclination from there that it is safe. So that I don't understand all of it. But to me, it doesn't sound good at all. The International Atomic Energy Agency was worried about this when they visited recently, and that was in 2022. They found that the equipment monitoring the containment building was broken. And they used very polite language. Not many would be as polite as they were because it is about safety. And they said, without a fully functional containment monitoring system, the data required to demonstrate structural integrity of this containment during the LTO may not be sufficient. And I'm sure that the NNR has received that report. They have seen the safety case which was given to them to make their consideration for the LTO. But I'm asking you as the board and as the panel, how could you allow that? I've also been told that the only way to fully repair rusting metal reinforcing rods in concrete is to demolish and rebuild it. So I'm looking at the containment building, housing those reactors that are kicking out nuclear energy with highly radioactive material. And I'm asking the board to explain to me or to answer my question that this is a very expensive job to demolish it as well as to rebuild it. Will you insist on it that it needs to be demolished? If it is the only way to make the structure as safe as it when it was built, will you allow the cost of the repair, a proper repair, not a lick of paint or a plaster like a bandage, to influence your decision on the LTO? And I would appreciate it very much if my question can be answered after this presentation. So if the containment building, which is our biggest worry at this very moment, fails to protect us, then we will have to rely on the evacuation plan. And that one is a bit of a sad story. So every 18 months, there is a drill to see if the plan actually works. And every time the exercise fails, it's resulting in a huge failure. The last drill was in November of 2022. And we were told at the Public Safety Information Forum that the NNR have found 14 non-compliances. To me, non-compliances means that something didn't work. And I've written down 2. The equipment needed to decontaminate people was not even in Cape Town. And the city department did not even arrive because it was not a real emergency. This is the information that we got in the Public Information Forum. And we were told the report will not be made available to the public. This is what the NNR found. That report was not for the public. So why does the NNR, no, I'm asking, Why does the NNR allow Eskom to hide safety-related information from the public? When you stand and your pillars is for public safety. Ms. Liz McDade spoke in Tableview 2 weeks ago about seeing the same problems year after year at the safety drills during the emergency drills. And she said how, this was in Tableview 2 weeks ago, and she said how she asked to engage with the NNR about her observations, but she was simply ignored, and she mentioned this in her presentation. So this makes me wonder, I've been wondering for 2 weeks, if the NNR is taking this plan seriously. Because like I said, this is the last defense for the public. Why doesn't the NNR follow the best practices? I forgot to put in best practices there, of other countries. Because remember, we are a signatory to the International Atomic Energy Agency. We follow their protocols, they do their recommendations, they do their suggestions, and we follow best practices to ensure safety at all levels. But here it seems that the attitude of the NNR seems to be, we hope they're going to do better the next time. They will get it together, hopefully. If there was a major accident now, we know that the plan may not work. We still haven't had answers to that 14 non-compliances. I read a report, and I might be standing in correction here. I read a report that said that the NNR found the response time to that safety drill adequate. And I have a problem with that. Because how can you find it adequate when there are non-compliances? And we were told in the Public Safety Information Forum that these non-compliances will be addressed. And I think this was in November, so that would have been in March of last year when we had the Public Safety Information Forum meeting. Has it been resolved? Has it been looked at? Were there any communication between the different stakeholders, key personnel? Because there were quite a few. There were 14. And that is my concern. That hasn't been addressed. What has been resolved? Are we going back with the same type of non-compliances that we had before? And we ask, and I asked, that the NNR make sure that Eskom do not lower their safety standards for Kuba than other countries have for their own nuclear reactors. Sure, I'm not sure how legal things work. I have no degree, and I don't hold a PhD. I'm standing here as a community activist, a community worker passionate about people, the environment, and the safety of all. But, and however, for me, and this is from a moral point of view, I will hold you, the NNR board members, personally responsible. Should anything happen to endanger the lives of people, if they should die, if they're inflicted with any injury of long-term diseases, because you failed to make sure that there is a good evacuation and emergency plan in place. So will you, as the NNR today, I'd like you to answer me, please, insist on the drill being done again, and that must work without any non-compliances. It is that simple. In my last comment on this, I worked at a place where I was asked to do safety and health issues at a hospital. And we had a safety drill every month. And everybody had to know what is their job, what is their responsibility. And that hospital was evacuated within 7 minutes. And we brought it down to 5. Because the level of dedication and the level of understanding and having empathy for people that cannot move, that is in a hospital, that made us work even harder at getting this place evacuated within time. And before I say thank you for protecting us, I did not add this to my presentation, and I have noticed that a few other presenters had mentioned this before. I am working in the Northern Cape as well, and I found it very disturbing that the people surrounding the Falpoets waste disposal site have had no communication from Eskom or the NNR in regards to this long-term operation that they're planning. And they are feeling, they have NEXA that comes out with, and the Falpoets PSIF. But what they feel is that they have been neglected, for a better, I cannot pronounce the other one that they said, that they need information because ultimately there is, and they're still ongoing, a pre-feasibility study to find out whether they can receive, Falpoets can receive the high-level waste. So in my view and in their view, why are we not consulted? Because if the plant is being extended for another 20 years, it means it's another 20 years of waste, whereas there is already hundreds and thousands of tons of nuclear spent fuel on site. So the word is being around, the narrative that is out there is that that waste is going to Falpoets. Should the communities not be informed? Should have they not been informed by now? Because it is their life that is still at risk. So please start talking to these people. I am working, like I said, in the communities in the Northern Cape, and I will be visiting them again. Because I had a call at 4:45 this morning. I can show it to each and every one of you. What is happening at Coburg? We hear this, we hear that. It is not my job to inform them. It is your job. It is the NNR's duty. I don't know if you need to speak to NEXA. I do not know what is happening there. All I know is the communities feel we have been neglected and you need to come and speak to us. And thank you very much for this opportunity.